Well, Sunday really isn't the day for Ferrari. It seems to be a standard practice now that Ferrari have great Saturdays and really bad Sundays. In the space of 4 races now, they've handed not only the lead in the Drivers' Championship and the lead in the Constructors' Championship to Red Bull, but Red Bull also now hold a 1-2 with Verstappen and then Perez in the Drivers' Championship. It was another 1-2 for Red Bull again this weekend, whilst Ferrari completed another double DNF. Now, at the beginning of the year, we had almost the reverse. Ferrari were cleaning up whilst Red Bull struggled to finish. So the championship certainly isn't over just because momentum and the swing of things seems to be in Red Bull's favour right now. It could very easily change, just as we've already seen it change once before. Obviously, starting from pole, it's not the best way to end the race when you don't end the race, and Ferrari really need to start looking at things and making changes. That's what Red Bull did to get this momentum back in their favour. It's now time for Ferrari to consider their strategy, consider where they need to focus, and sort out the reliability of the engines. Now, the engines haven't been that unreliable for Ferrari this year, so this could just be a one-off. This could just be high temperatures of Baku that made this happen. It could be a combination of things. But for sure, Ferrari needs to work it out, because to finish first one must finish. Porpoising was a really big talking point this weekend, and although Mercedes seemed to have fixed their porpoising last time out in Monaco, this time it was back with a vengeance. Lewis Hamilton was really struggling with the bumps to a point where he almost had to back out of the Canadian Grand Prix, but it has been confirmed that he will be racing again next weekend, so no worries about that. Albeit struggling with porpoising, it was a great 3-4 for Mercedes, with George Russell once again being in the right place at the right time to take a cheeky little podium. The fact that Hamilton managed to climb up the field to finish 4th as well does show that the Mercedes is better than most of the midfield teams. I do stand by believing it's the 3rd fastest car on the grid. I don't think it has a chance to compete with the front runners, with Ferrari and Red Bull. I do believe they're in a league of their own. It basically feels like slight role reversal with where Ferrari were last year. That's where Mercedes is now this year. McLaren struggled again this weekend, which was slightly surprising because it felt like this should be a track that they were okay at. It's not really super speed deficient. It's not really super speed dependent. It's a street circuit, it's liable for something to happen obscure, although in terms of street circuit racing this was a fairly tame one. But yeah, McLaren not even making it through to Q3 and then just about getting into the points at the end. Really stuck in the fight with the Alpines for the bottom of the top 10 this weekend. I would have said a few weekends ago that maybe McLaren were there with Mercedes, just need to sort out a few issues, but we are now over a quarter of the way into the season, and they do feel like a fairly midfield team in that fight with Alpine, with Aston Martin, with Haas as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I think they are. I think Mercedes are in this weird kind of little bubble on their own, in between the midfield and the top 2. Interestingly, no repeat winners at Baku ever. So every year we've had a brand new winner, which I thought was a fun fact. And then obviously Perez, second on the grid for them. Perez got the fastest lap, bringing the 44 maximum points back for Red Bull for the constructors to start extending that lead they have in front of Ferrari. Now 80 points ahead of them in the Constructors' Championship, so a really big buffer they've now got considering Ferrari's poor form in the last few races. And as I say, a Mercedes 3-4 there closing out the top 4. Pierre Gasly had a really good drive once again, bringing the AlphaTauri home in 5th. I said last time that I'd like to see Pierre Gasly in a McLaren. I called it a prediction. I'm going to retract that because I don't think it's a prediction. I don't think it will happen. I'd love to see it happen, and there is going to be a seat available at McLaren this year, so it is going to be interesting to see who they want to put in that seat. And I'd love to see it be Gasly because I think he'd be a really good fit for the team. I think it'd be a great kind of second chance for him to be in a top tier team and get a proper crack at racing at the front. Obviously not this year though, because they're having issues with that car, so hopefully McLaren can sort it out for next year. I think Gasly would be a really good fit with Norris in that team. 2 young drivers, 2 kind of prime of their time drivers, if you will, as well. I feel like Ricciardo may be a little past his sell-by date at this time. Apologies to any Ricciardo fans, but he's not really been the driver he was at Red Bull since leaving. He's being outperformed by Norris almost every weekend, and his one victory he's had with the team last year was definitely a fluke and not a result he's managed to repeat or even come close to repeating again. So I certainly think McLaren will be replacing him at the end of the year. I'd love to see it be Gasly, but I don't think it will be. I don't know who I think it's going to be. I haven't really sat down and thought about that, but I'd love to see it be Gasly. But I'm going to retract it from being a prediction and just being a want, because I don't actually think it will happen. But a great drive from him, once again, showing he is a quick little peddler when you put him in the right place. Even if you put him in the wrong place, remember in Monaco, he came through the field as well. So he's a very quick little driver, and just really reiterating that, I think his stock value to other teams potentially looking is quite high. I'd love that McLaren, if you watch, high. But also sign Pierre Gasly for next year, would you? I think he'd be a good one. A great drive from Sebastian Vettel to come home 6th. Been a bit of a quiet start to the season for Vettel. Obviously, he missed a couple of races at the beginning due to getting COVID, but now he's back. He's had a few moments. He did have a moment in this race as well where he late braked, outbraked himself, and ended up running into the runoff area. Luckily, there was runoff area for him there. Otherwise that would have been the end of his race. But a good drive from him to come home 6th. A really good result for him and Aston Martin, especially considering Lance Stroll in the second car did not finish. As I mentioned, it was an McLaren Alpine end with Fernando Alonso 7th, Daniel Ricciardo 8th, Lando Norris 9th, and Esteban Ocon wrapping up the top 10. A doubly concerning weekend for Ferrari, considering the other two DNFers, Kevin Magnussen and Zhou Guanyu, were both running Ferrari engines when they went, and it was a Ferrari engine issue that saw them fall out of the race. So certainly some investigations to be going on to there as to why. Ferrari has definitely been the strongest power unit so far this year, but as we were mentioning at the beginning of the year with Red Bull, if you have reliability issues that prevent you from stopping or finishing, that's going to kill your championship. Leclerc and Verstappen have now both got 2 DNFs, and Verstappen is 150 points, and Leclerc's on 116, so 34 points ahead, which is over a race win with a fastest lap. So Leclerc's got ground to make up. And I feel like he's the kind of driver who has it in him to make up that ground. The car just needs to stop failing him. The team need to work on their strategy, because strategy is what potentially lost him his chance to have a punt for the win last time out in Monaco, as we discussed last time. So there's definitely some work to be done there. And I feel like Ferrari maybe got a bit complacent at the fact that they were fast and they were winning and they weren't really having too much fight. And yeah, Red Bull would steal a win every now and then, but it was kind of theirs to lose, and now they're losing it. Red Bull have won the last 4 races. So yeah, Ferrari really need to sort that out. Weirdest thing for Yuki Tsunoda with half the rear wing breaking. That was a very, very odd one to see. The team fixing it with gaffer tape. I don't actually know how that happened, how half of a wing, well, obviously it's got stuck and part of it's moved and it's snapped. That's how it's happened. But how that happens is really confusing. It's not something I've seen before. I've seen DRS fail. We saw Verstappen have the DRS issues a couple of races ago in Spain. So we have seen DRS issues in the past, but I don't think I've ever seen a DRS wing snap in half. Interesting for the FIA to black and orange flag him for it though. Black and orange flag, for those who don't know, is when there's a mechanical issue with the car and the race directors are basically saying you have to come in and fix that. You can't carry on with that damage. Usually a black and orange is thrown out for like half a front wing laying off, or heavy damage to an AirPod or a side pod, AirPods go in your ears. Something that's really, mainly it's because it's dangerous that something might fall off the car and impact another car. Whereas a technical fault that is only damaging the one car's race, it was interesting to see them decide that they should black and orange flag that. We only had 15 finishes at the end, but all in all, a bit of a quiet Baku Grand Prix. Yeah, a little nonplus. Usually these street circuit races throw up some drama. And as I've said one too many times in the past, if a street circuit doesn't throw up any drama, it's normally quite boring and processional. Verstappen had a 20-second lead at the end, and Perez was a further 25 up from Russell. Both of them could have pitted for a new set of tyres and gone for the fastest lap at the end and not lost position. It's just not exciting. It's not engaging, it's not riveting. We need races where they're wheel to wheel, where there's competition. And okay, you know, the race would have likely been different if Leclerc and Sainz hadn't have gone out, and we would have had the 4 front running cars up the front. But in all honesty, having looked at the season so far, Sainz wouldn't have been in that fight. Leclerc would have been, but it would have probably been just a Red Bull Ferrari. So, you know, Perez did what he needed to do off the start. Great start for him to jump Leclerc and get the lead. And then obviously the race is in his hands rather than Ferrari. So that was definitely what Red Bull would have wanted him to do. But yeah, Ferrari need to start converting these Saturdays to Sundays. Next up, we have the Canadian Grand Prix. We haven't been to the Jean Villeneuve circuit for 3 years now. 2 years. 2019 was the last time we were there. So it's great to be going back to this circuit. Very, very long straights, really going to favour Red Bull's straight line top speed. So we will see what Ferrari can do, if they can upset the apple cart or if Red Bull walk away with it. At this current moment in time in the championship, it does all seem to be going their way. So hopefully Ferrari sort it out and we can have an interesting one and it's not too processional. I don't think there's much other news. The only thing that I don't think I've spoken about, or maybe I spoke about Monaco, I can't remember now, it was a few weeks ago. But the only other thing is that there is the potential of Nick de Vries coming in to replace Nicholas Latifi at Williams halfway through the season. A rumour is spreading, a rumour is gaining some pace, especially after Latifi's performance in the last few races not been fantastic. I am confident, well, we know he's going to be at the Canadian Grand Prix because he's confirmed to be, but after that, for the British Grand Prix, we might see a change. They might let him do his home race and then see a change. I think De Vries has got some sponsorship backing as well. So he'll obviously be game to get in a Formula 1 car. He did a Williams test a few weeks back as well. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But that is all we have to talk about today. Do let me know your thoughts, feelings, and everything in between down in the comment box down below about the Baku Grand Prix and the slight snooze fest that it was. Let me know your thoughts and feelings ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix. If you think Red Bull are going to walk away with it, if you think Ferrari is somehow going to turn it all around and come back stronger than ever, do let me know and we will carry on this discussion down below. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute blast as always. If you enjoyed this video, go show that like button some good old-fashioned love. And if you want to support the channel, go hit subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss next time I upload a video. Stay on up, and I will see you all in the next video! Time on Track Talk, we won't be here. I don't know where we'll be, but it won't look like this.